My name is Ken Lindgren, and I'm going to be talking about weight training and stretching for the water polo athlete. I think most of us realize how important weight training has become in all of sport these days. I think all of the sports now use quite a bit of weight training. I think part of the success, the records that are being set in swimming, track and field, baseball, football, everything, a lot of this can be attributed to the weight training that is going on nowadays. We want to specifically talk about weight training for water polo, and then we will follow up later with stretching and see how that can help us also in the sport. I know my first exposure to weight training was some 35 years ago when my own high school coach talked to me, and we used to lift weights by lifting cans of food and sandbags and things like this, and the sport and the techniques have obviously come a long way since that time. A couple things I'd like to mention with weight training is, number one, make sure that you have a good instructor and proper supervision anytime that you're lifting weights. I think it's very important that you always lift with a partner or with a team, something like that. It makes it more fun. A lot of the exercises you can do so much more with a partner. It's easier to concentrate, to get your workouts in and not miss. So working with somebody is really important. And the other thing that I think is very important is that you keep a record of your progress. How much weight are you lifting? How many reps are you using? Keep it charted. Write it down. Talk about the workout. I felt good today. The weight was too light. I should add weight next time. Whatever. Or it was too heavy. It was difficult. I didn't feel good today. Keep a chart. Keep a progress so that you can see when you look back 6 months from the day you started lifting how much you've improved and see what your progress has really been. Well, let's get on to the weight training program now and talk about, first thing, just total body fitness. And there are several aspects that we want to talk about here, 5 to be exact, in a total weight program. And of these 5 things, let's start off here first on this flip chart that I have here beside me. The first thing that any weight program that we want to develop for water polo has to include muscular endurance. The sport of water polo is an endurance sport. Right now it's in the collegiate and the international level, it's 4 7-minute quarters. There's talk of going to 9-minute quarters. And so endurance is an extremely vital part of our sport. And so any weight training program has to include muscular endurance. Right along with this, the second thing, we want to develop cardiovascular endurance. And we can do this through weight training. In most water polo programs, just being in the pool and swimming and playing and so forth, you're going to build up a lot of cardiovascular endurance, but we can also incorporate this into our weight program so that we can also develop our cardiovascular system also through weights, another way. The third thing we want to do, of course, is to develop a lot of muscular strength. So any good weight program will develop muscular strength. And this is different than endurance. We want to just see how much weight that we can possibly lift, that type of thing. And so this is the type of thing we're talking about when we talk about muscular strength. The fourth thing is we also want to incorporate into our program power. Power is strength with rapid movement. And so this is important because this is what happens in practice. This is what happens in a game. This is more real to life. These are the kinds of movements that occur, power types of movements. And so we want to try to develop this in a good weight program. And the last thing is flexibility. And again, flexibility is important. Flexibility is good because it prevents injuries. If you have good flexibility, it prevents injuries. It allows you to do more things in the pool. If you're very flexible in the pool, it allows you to be able to throw the ball better. It enables you to swim better, react better, better coordination, everything. Flexibility can be obtained, of course, through stretching, which we'll talk about later, but flexibility can also be attained through the proper use of weights, full range of motion, and doing all the exercises properly. And so flexibility is a big part of a weight training program. So these are the 5 things then that we want to build into a total body fitness program into our weight training. Now let's look at some terminology. And this is just basic terminology. Don't want to bore you with this, but these are some things that come up. Number 1 is flexion. And of course, flexion, if I'm just standing here, flexion just means if I'm moving any body part forward, like raising my arm, or backwards raising my arm, or bending backwards, anything like this is what we consider flexion, any movement back and forth. The second thing, extension, is after I've flexed and lifted my arm up, when I bring it back to its starting position, this is extension. And so if I lean back, that's flexion. When I come back to the upright position, that is extension. And of course, a lot of the exercises are named with these particular names. Abduction means just moving your arm to the side, out to the side, or your leg out to the side, or whatever it might be, leaning to the side. This is abduction. When you bring it back again to your side, then we get to the 4th term here, adduction. And again, exercises are named like this. You've heard of dumbbell abduction, you've heard of dumbbell adduction, and things of this type. Then the next 4 terms here, we have anterior, which just means the front part of your body. Posterior, of course, is the rear, the back, so forth. Lateral is anything on the side, moving outwards from the side of the midline of the body. Your medial is anything on the inside of your body, like the inside of the arm or the inside of the knees, something of that type. And then finally, the last 2 things that you hear a lot about in a weight room or in any kind of an exercise program is aerobics. Everybody is into aerobics now, and what does aerobics really mean? Well, in aerobics, you're developing your slow twitch muscles, your red muscle fibers. And this is more the endurance type of fibers. And we get this through aerobics. When we talk of anaerobics, we're talking about fast twitch muscles. And these are more explosive. That they don't last. You do something for a real short period of time, something very explosive. And this is anaerobic. Probably the best illustration of this would be the difference between ducks and chickens. Ducks, if you've ever gone duck hunting or eaten duck, duck has a red breast, and that's because ducks fly long distances. They need endurance. They're developing the slow twitch or the red muscle fiber. And chickens, they have a white breast because when they fly, they just fly for short periods of time. It's explosive, and therefore they're developing the fast twitch or the white fiber muscle types of things. So that's the difference between aerobic and anaerobic, and a lot of times these terms are used incorrectly. Now let's go on and look here on this chart at the properties for a good quality weight training program. And we have 5 things here that we'd like to talk about here. Number 1 is a warm-up. Very, very important anytime you do a weight training program is to have a proper warm-up. I would say minimum 10 minutes. And this should include some stretching. It should include some types of exercise. I mean, you've seen it like jumping jacks and touching your toes and push-ups and things of this type. These can all be included into this type of a warm-up. At the end of this presentation here, we'll go through some specific warm-up exercises that are good for most weight training programs. But it just, whenever you start lifting weights and you're lifting heavy weight or whatever, to start off cold without getting your muscles warmed up would be like jumping out of bed in the morning and suddenly sprinting 200 yards, down the street without any warm-up. You got a chance to pull muscles. Your muscles don't operate at full efficiency. And so the warm-up is critical to any weight training program. And this is probably the one thing that is ignored more than anything else. Most people come right into a weight room, and you see it all the time. They just come in and they put a bunch of weight and they just start lifting. And the warm-up is key if you want to get maximum efficiency out of a weight training program. The second property here is you have to keep your program. Once you establish your program, you got to keep it complete and simple. And by this I mean we want completeness in that you want to cover all your major muscle groups. And we'll go over these later, what the major muscle groups are and how to exercise these, but you want to make sure that all of your exercises are complete and cover all these muscle groups. And then you want to keep it simple. You want to do the least amount of exercises that will work the various parts of the body that you're trying to train. This, in turn, will allow you to concentrate more on the workout. It can keep it shorter. You don't want to drag these things out. You want to have as much concentration and get as much explosiveness into your workout in as short a period of time as possible. So a complete and simple workout makes it easy. The third thing is that the components that you're working on, the various muscle groups, the exercise you're using, you want to repeat these periodically. And by this I mean we're talking now a basic weight training program, probably 3 days a week, a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday type of thing. And maybe for 45 minutes to an hour in length. And whatever you're working out, whatever part of the body, whether it's your chest or your arms, whatever, you want to make sure you do those exercises repeatedly each time, or you will not develop the muscles the way that you're supposed to. The fourth thing is you want the program to be progressive. And the program will be progressive if, in fact, you're increasing the weights, not every time, but at various intervals, you know, when your body's ready to. Some people will lift, if it's a 3-day program, maybe they lift heavy weights one day, another day they lift 90% of their weight, and the third day maybe it's 80% of the heaviest weight that they use. And so this is a progressive program. You don't always have to use the same exercises, but when you use substitute exercises, they still must exercise the same muscle group that the exercise that you're replacing. So you want to be variable, keep it interesting, and keep working the same body parts. And finally, the last thing is you want your program to be compatible with your goals and your abilities. Don't try to do too much too soon. Don't try to lift weights that you can't handle. Just because your friend is lifting a lot of weight, maybe you're not ready to lift that kind of weight. So try to keep within your abilities, do the exercises correctly, and you'll find that you'll have much more progress this way. And make sure you keep compatible with your goals. What are you really trying to accomplish? You've got to know beforehand. Are you trying to make yourself a better swimmer? Are you trying to throw the ball harder? Are you trying to make yourself stronger? Exactly what is your program designed to do? So we want to keep that. Now, in most weight training programs, there's two basic systems that we deal with. We have them both down here. One is called the priority system and the other is called the circuit system, and most of you are probably familiar with these. The priority system is one where you go in and you lift the weight, do an exercise, and before you go on to any other exercise, you complete that. Like if you're doing 3 sets of 10 with a priority system, let's say it's just bench press, you'll go in and you'll do your first set of 10 bench press, and then you'll rest for a minute, approximately, and then you'll come back and you'll do another set of 10. And then you'll rest another minute and finally come back and complete your third set. And so you'll do all of your bench press before you go on to your next exercise, which may be a leg exercise or something of that type. So with priority, you get all of your exercises done on that one particular area before you go on to the next one. So you completely work that muscle group. In a circuit system, it's a little bit different. A circuit system, you go from exercise to exercise. So you may do one set of a bench press, and then you immediately go to another set of a leg exercise, and then you may come back and do a shoulder press, and then you may go do some other kind of a leg exercise, and you just go from one exercise to another. And circuit systems can vary. They can build up a kind of an aerobic type of situation where you're going from one to the other very quickly. You use a high number of reps, maybe 10 to 20 light weights, move very, very quickly, maybe go through a 6 or 7 exercise system, maybe 5 to 10 times. Or you can use heavier weights, slow it down, go through the circuit maybe 3 to 5 times, cut your reps down maybe somewhere between 3 and 8, use heavier weights, and rest between. And that way you'll build up more strength. So these are the two basic kinds of systems that we'll be looking at in the program in the weight room. The final thing that I would like to talk about before we go into the weight room is just what is the difference between free weights and machines. Free weights have a lot of advantages over machines in that you've got freedom of movement in any direction that you want with free weights. And it takes coordination, it takes balance to deal with free weights. And it's more like a real live situation when you get in the pool. Free weights is far superior to machines because of these reasons. The nice thing about machines is that number one, they're convenient, number two, they're safer, and it's just much easier to deal with machines. But they both, don't get me wrong, machines are very, very valuable, but it's just if you can do free weights and do them correctly, there's more advantages to it. Right now, I'd like to maybe now move into the gym, and let's start looking at some specific exercises, and then we'll start off with the warm-up. I'll show you a little warm-up program, about a 10-minute warm-up program, and then we'll actually get into the specific exercises dealing with the various muscle groups. All right, we're now going to go in the gym and go through a warm-up routine. As you can see, we're now here doing some upright rowing just to get the trapezius and warmed up. Some overhead press from behind the neck. We want to do around 5-6 reps of each exercise here. Now we're doing the bent over rowing. All of this 5-6 reps, nice light weight. Take your time. We're going to go through the entire routine. You can see the good mornings, just working on the back, the spinal erectors. The idea is to try to warm up all of our major muscle groups. And we now into the squats. This routine should be repeated, as I said, 5-6 times, 5-6 reps. Now you can see he is starting all over again. This would be the second time through, and we now have finished warming up most of the major muscle groups here. Now we'll do a little bit of stretching. We're doing some static stretching with a little resistance. You put gentle pressure and then resist. You can see I'm resisting as he's coming back. Most of these exercises we're showing you here now, we're doing these a little quickly. We should, every stretch should be held for somewhere between 5-10 seconds. And you should just breathe, relax. Just here trying to loosen out the hamstrings, the legs. Just nice, gentle reach. Never push any more, put any more resistance on them except for what is comfortable. Again, here's the shoulder area being loosened up, again with resistance. And again back, and again this should be held between 5 and 10 seconds. And you can see we're going much more quickly than that. And finally, just loosening up the quadriceps here, getting a good stretch in the quadriceps. So now we'll move into the gym and do some actual weight lifting. Now we're going to start with the upper body pushing exercises, and the first one here is the bench press. Everybody knows the bench press. You want to keep your feet flat on the floor, back flat, arching the back. Lifting your legs up off the ground on your toes is cheating. Here's another form of using the pectorals. Working on those is the incline press. Just different angles here, working the same muscle groups. Here's a reverse incline press. All of these, I must point out, is you should always have a spotter with these. The bench on this is probably should be up a little bit higher, a 45-degree angle. But again, all three of those exercises are working the pectorals primarily. Here we go with the dumbbells. Same thing. You notice his palms are turned inward at the top, and then he rotates back down at the bottom. So again, just another form. Now we have some overhead presses here. Here's the push press. Notice he's using his knees to give him a little spring to push the bar up over his head. You can also do this exercise behind the neck. Again, here's the overhead press, just using the dumbbells. You can alternate arms on this also if you'd like. These work the trapezius a lot more than the other exercises. Here's the first series of pulling exercises, working the lats, the chin-ups with behind the neck. Here we are sitting in a machine using the pull-downs with the lat machine. Again, working the lats, working different angles on the lats here at about a 45-degree angle, pulling it into the chest. The next one is, again, working the lats, only this time with a close grip, pulling it down into the stomach. And again, at an angle, using, again, just various angles, working the entire lats from the bottom of the lats up to the top of the lats. Again, a new angle, just using the horizontal row, sitting on a bench, or you could be flat on the ground, again pulling in using the lats. Yet another one, the bent over rowing, just pulling the bar right up to the chest. You could do this also laying on a high bench, pulling the bar up to your chest. Another variation, these are all variations of lat exercises, very much the same, working the same thing but just different angles. Again, you can use the dumbbells, just one arm at a time, pulling it up to your chest, as you see this young man here. Now we're going to work into the traps. Here we have the upright rowing. Notice the hands are very close together, pulling it all the way up to the chin. This works the trapezius muscles. The next exercise will do exactly the same thing. It's a shoulder shrug. You're trying to lift your shoulders up to your ears, rotate them back and back down. If you can, you do not want, or you don't want to bend your elbows. Now we're going to go into the tricep exercises, which are, those muscles are very important, as we know in water polo, for the throwing motion, for swimming, all these types of things, and we're going to show you a lot of variations of working the triceps. Here's using the barbell behind the head. The elbows here should maybe be a little bit closer together here, but you can work various angles. Let the bar go down behind your head as far as possible, and then just try to isolate the triceps. That was a good job there. You can do the same exercise using the dumbbell. Now you notice here his elbows are closer together, which is a little bit better form than what we had on the exercise before. But again, the same exercise, only using dumbbells. So again, we have a lot of variations here. Here we have using the barbell again, but you notice the difference here behind the neck is we have a reverse grip. And this is a little more difficult, but again, it just works a different area of your tricep muscle. Same motion. You can do the triceps here on the bench. Again, you're trying to isolate. You don't want your arms to come back. You want your upper arm to stay perpendicular to the floor, and just pull it up. This next exercise is really out of place. This next exercise is a pulling exercise, and as you can see, it's more of a lat exercise than a tricep exercise. We're just pulling the bar right up over the head, keeping the elbows bent the whole time. Normally you would use very heavy weight on this particular exercise, but again, it's not a tricep exercise. Now we have another variation of the bench press, only a close grip bench press, and this is very, very good for the triceps. This is one of the better tricep exercises. You want to keep the bar up high on the chest, nice close grip, and again, let me emphasize a spotter. Here's a dip exercise using a couple of benches where we can isolate the triceps. Don't expect you to do all of these exercises at once. These are just variations, and you can come up with many other kinds of variations. Here's just dips on a bar. Again, I think that the elbows should be a little bit closer in, but again, it's by varying the width of the elbows also changes the muscle, the part of the muscle you're working. Here's a straight arm extension. He's going up a little bit high, should only come up to about a right angle and then push it down. This is a tricep extension. Same thing with the reverse grip. And again, he's probably coming up a little bit too high. It should just come up to about a right angle so his arms are parallel to the floor. Now let's take a look at the shoulders and working the shoulder and with the rotator cuff. A lot of injuries occur, particularly with the amount of use that we have in swimming and water polo with the shoulder. All of these exercises should be done with light weights. Here we're doing dumbbells. You notice varying the hand grip here, palms down. Now we're going here out to the sides, palms down. Just watch his hands. Now he's rotating. The thumb is up. Okay, very nice. Now the palms are up. It's just working all of the rotator cuff, all the different angles. Now we're going back. He should be bent over a little bit more. There we go. That's a little bit better. And going back. Again, just strengthening that rotator cuff with all the throwing and the stress that's put on the shoulder. These are great exercises for maintenance of that rotator cuff. Here's another one. You don't want that arm to go back too far. It should be just at a right angle. His left arm's going back maybe a little bit too far. We don't want to stretch the rotator cuff out. And again, this is not an exercise for strength. This is just an exercise to build up that rotator cuff for all the difficult throwing motions, swimming motions across the chest. Again, just to tighten up the rotator cuff. Notice he's just coming up perpendicular. You're not going all the way out to the side. Again, that can stretch your rotator cuff too much. Now we're going to go into the torso exercises, and to me these are some of the most important exercises we have. Right now we can see we're working some hyper extensions here, just lifting the chest up off the floor. Now a little bit more difficult movement, lifting the chest and the legs off the floor simultaneously. This is to strengthen the spinal erectors. Here again is just a hyper extension. You can put a weight behind your head or put a weight on your chest, again to build up the spinal erectors. It's very important, which a lot of people don't realize, if you really want to lift a lot of weight and become very strong, for the body to accommodate you, you have to build up the spinal erectors. Here again is a stiff-legged deadlift. The knees do not have to be straight on this, but again, it's just for the spinal erectors. All these exercises basically for the spinal erectors. Good mornings, which we saw in the warm-up. The back should be arched as much as possible, just bending over, just as he's showing here. Very difficult exercise to do. Now let's get into the sit-ups. I think you should be doing every routine, you should be doing maybe about 15-20 minutes worth of sit-ups. Here he's just bringing his knees up to his chest. Notice his back and head are off the floor. Now we're just alternating legs. You could go a little bit quicker than this, but just rotating elbow to the leg. Make sure your legs get out straight. They never touch the floor. You may want to build up to this, maybe get up to, of each one of these sets of exercise, maybe 50, 60 reps. Again, head and back off the floor. Just quick movements. The feet should be moving maybe about 6 inches. Now we bend the legs. We're lifting up. We're not doing a full sit-up here or crunch. You're just pulling up with your stomach muscles. You pull up to the top. You hold it for about a count of 2 and then down slow. Up, hold it. And finally the crunch. Here your head and your chest should be going up to the ceiling, not towards your knees, but up towards the ceiling. Here's the torso exercise, just keeping your legs straight, swinging from side to side. Again, just building up the abdominals. You don't want to do full sit-ups. They're hard on your back. Stretch it a little more. That's why we were showing the other kinds of sit-ups. Again, let me emphasize, you should do sit-ups 15 to 20 minutes to build up the abdominals. Now we go into the last muscle group, which is the legs. Here we see the squat. You want to bring the weights down slow, keep it under control. The upper thigh should end up parallel to the floor. Here's the lunge. Take big steps forward. Turn around. As he's coming back, he should be striding forward more. This builds up the glutes, works on the quadriceps. Very difficult exercise. Here's another variation of the squat on a machine. Again, bringing the weight down slowly right into the chest and pushing it back up. Universal machine can also be used for this. But again, it builds up the quads and the glutes primarily. Now we have the calf raise. Here the feet can be angled. He's maybe 45 degrees out at the side and then in tight where they're parallel. Again, just working various parts of the calf muscle. The last position would be to turn the toes inward, the heels outward, and again, the same thing, toe raise, all the way down and up as high as you can go. So this builds up the calf muscles, all angles of it. Here we can get the inside, particularly of the leg. This is good for the breast kick that you use in water polo so much. Builds up the inner part of the leg. You can use this on both legs, a pulley. Very light weights. Do not use heavy weights on this. Very dangerous to use heavy weights. You can also work the outer part of the leg by just reversing this and kicking up high. Make sure you get a full range of motion. Again, do not use heavy weights here. Now we have the leg curl. On this machine, some machines you lay down on your stomach, but here just working the hamstrings. And finally we have the leg extensions, again working the quadriceps. Nice controlled motion, kick up, should hold a little bit at the top and then down nice and slow under control. These legs exercises, very, very important in water polo. As we know, legs are extremely important to our sport. We've just finished in the weight room showing you many different exercises on lifting weights, and hopefully this will help you design a weight program for yourself. And now we would like to continue on and show you a program of stretching, which would be a good idea after you've lifted weights. We showed you a slight stretching program for a warm-up, and now we'd like to show you a stretching program after you've completed your weight workout. There's over 600 muscles in your body, and there's the tendons that connect the muscles to the bones. We also have the connective tissue of the ligaments that connect the bones to the bones, and these things need to be worked on and strengthened, made more flexible, because this will help you develop strength, flexibility, and those types of things. The key thing here is a lot of people think that stretching is boring, and I think this comes from the feeling that when you do a lot of stretching, it takes a long time before you start to notice results. And it's not like weightlifting where you start building muscle mass or start noticing yourself getting stronger. With flexibility, it takes a longer time. The thing that we want to do through stretching is that the muscles will become longer, they'll become more pliant, and they'll become more relaxed during an activity if you have a good stretching program going. Also, the muscles will be toned, which will give the muscle the ability to reach its full range during some kind of a movement. And this ability for the muscle to reach and hold a stretch during competition gives an athlete the competitive edge. There are basically two kinds of stretching that we can look at. There's the static stretching and the ballistic. Static is just what it applies. It's a gentle type of stretching, slow, easy movements. Ballistic is more bouncing type of stretching, and this is a little more difficult. Today we're going to look at just the static type of stretching, because this is the kind that will help you, I think, the most and develop your flexibility to its utmost. So all of our stretching will be done with the technique of just a nice slow reach, holding the stretch. You should always feel kind of maybe a little pull, whatever your part of your body you're stretching, but you should never hurt on this. If it hurts, then you're trying to reach or stretch too much. The last thing I'll just mention here, and I'll talk about this as we go through the various exercises, but is your breathing. Anytime you start a stretch, you want to inhale, kind of tighten up your abdominal muscles, reach and exhale into your stretch, hold it for about 5 seconds, and then inhale again, and then start your stretch and exhale, and then you want to hold that stretch for somewhere around 15 to 20 seconds. Okay, let's take a look at a number of stretching exercises that you can do that will work all the parts of your body. And so let's go into the gym now and demonstrate these. Now we're going to start here just with the neck. You notice I'm turning my hands outward, stretching so that I can get a better stretch on the neck. And we just slowly rotate the head around, try to get your chin down on your chest, touch your ears to your shoulders. And of course we want to do this both ways, just nice and easy. Don't want to strain anything. Remember, in stretching, you don't want to hurt, you just want to feel a gentle pull. To get a better neck stretch, you can just pull your head to the side and just pull your head down. And again, leave the other arm down at your side. Now, most of these stretches, we want to hold these stretches for somewhere between 15 and 20 seconds. And I'll be talking in general as we go through all these stretching exercises, just some techniques. Here we're just pulling the head down onto the chest. You'll feel a pull in your back, and as you bend over slowly like this, you'll feel a real tug in your lower back. You just bend over, hold it here for about 10 to 20 seconds. Just nice, easy stretch. Now let's move into the elbows. The elbow stretch, using the shoulders, the triceps, stretching these out. Of course, these are extremely important in water polo and swimming because we use the shoulders and the triceps and the arms so much. Just pulling back on the elbow, getting a nice, good stretch. If you can reach behind and grab your hands, and you can get even a better stretch this way. Again, we're holding this for 15 to 20 seconds. Pull down. Now, most of you will not be able to grab your hands like this, so you might get a towel or sweats, and you might grab this way and try to inch down the towel until your hands get closer and closer together until you can actually grab your fingers. This takes quite a while before you can develop this. All right, now here again, just stretching the triceps out. The arms, you're just reaching up. Notice the palms are together, and you're stretching up as high as you can possibly stretch. Just stretching out. Again, 15 to 20 seconds. Then we have the wrist pull to the side. This is for your waist. Just pull yourself to the side. Hold 15 to 20 seconds. All of these, you want to inhale and then exhale as you move into position. Hold it for about 5 seconds and then inhale and exhale again and move to your final position. Just relax. Here again, palms turned outward and down, lifting up as high as you can. Again, the triceps, the deltoid, the forearms, it stretches it out very well. And then just slowly bend over forward. And again, hold that stretch. You should take a deep breath. There you can see I just did. Exhale, and now hold it for another 15 to 20 seconds. Every time your initial stretch is for about 5 seconds, and then again. Shoulder here, just on your hands and knees, reaching under, just putting pressure on that left shoulder there. Very good stretch. This feels very good when you do it, particularly if you have tight shoulders. Again, on the other side, I can't emphasize that it's got to be a gentle stretch. Do not hurt yourself. 15-20 seconds. Now we're going to do some hamstring stretches. Here you can see can't bend down all the way, just crossing your leg. Again, 5 seconds, then inhale again and exhale, and into your final stretch of 15 to 20 seconds. Down, in, exhale, hold it for 5 seconds, and then another breath. There you can see the breath, and back down again. You can grab your ankle here, your foot, whatever. Okay, here's one where we can just put one foot at a right angle to the other one. Same procedure. Inhale, then exhale, hold for about 5 seconds, and then reach down. You'll really feel this in the hamstrings. Do this both sides. These are all variations of working on the hamstrings and the back, and you don't have to do all of these at the same time, but there's some. Here's one just sitting on your right leg, reaching out. There's the breath, and dropping down and grabbing the ankle. Just hold it for about 20 seconds. You can do this again, both legs. Just stretch out. Here's another variation. Bring your reach up nice and high. Okay, inhale, exhale, reach out over the leg. Relax, hold it 5 seconds, then a big breath, and back down. Now you can grab your ankle, and then you can start creeping out a little bit. Try to grab around the arch of your foot. Hamstrings and back. Up over the leg, and then up high. Again, stretch that back out. Arms down behind your neck. Do this both sides. Lifting up the heel here. Here's a stretch for the outer thigh. Just lift and pull yourself to the side. Again, another good one for the lower back. Easy one to do. Just pull your knee up to your chest. And again, hold for 15 to 20 seconds. Just alternate the legs. You may want to do most of these stretches, maybe 3 reps of each stretch. Here's a good one for the spine. Just bring your leg up, cross your other leg over it, and just pull it to the side, and then hold it there. Notice the arms are outstretched. All of these you should breathe, just relax, just normal breathing, and just try to get some peace and quiet. Maybe have some soft music in the background. Enjoy yourself. 15 to 20 minutes of stretching. Here's one for the upper back. You lift your legs up nice and high, and then just slowly under control. Lower your legs, keeping them straight, and try to touch your toes to the floor. And again, just hold it there. You notice now the arms are out at the side for a little bit of balance. And hold the initial stretch 5 seconds. Take another deep breath. Exhale for 15 to 20. Just going back up again, and that will end that stretch. Now we're going to look at the quads. Just sitting on your legs, hands behind you, head back, and just lift up, arch your back. This stretches out the quads. Again, hold this. Just relax, breathe normal. Another quad exercise. We did this earlier in the tape. Just, again, leaning forward, pulling that toe. Notice it's the right hand, or excuse me, the left hand and the right foot. Same thing on the other side. Right hand to the left toe, and just stretching forward. You'll really feel that pull in that upper quad area. Now we're going to stretch out the groin here. Just nice wide legs. Make sure your toes are pointed forward, and then just bend the knee and lean to one side or the other. This is for people who are really tight in the groin area. Now, a more advanced type would be if you can get all the way down, as I'm doing here. Make sure your arms are inside your bent leg there. Heel has to be on the floor. Heel has to be on the floor. Notice the right heel's on the floor. You can get even more of a stretch by just reaching out and grabbing the toes if possible. And finally we have working on the calves, stretching them. One leg is bent. Lock your knee, and then you notice, keep your heel on the floor and bend forward. This will stretch out the Achilles tendon. And then go back into a locked position and just hold it again for about 15, 20 seconds. And then alternate to the other leg. And you get a good stretch here. This completes our program on weightlifting and on stretching. I would like to recap just a couple of things to emphasize some of the procedures and things we have gone through. Number one, make sure that you have a plan programmed out so that you know exactly what you want to do, the kinds of exercise you want to do, whether you're weightlifting or stretching. Keep a record of this plan so that you can monitor your progress. Keep the plan nice and simple. Work the basic muscle groups with as few exercises as possible. And lastly, keep varying the exercises so that you get some variety and you don't get bored with doing the same things. We tried to show you on this video many different exercises working the muscle groups, or whether it's in the weightlifting or the stretching. I think the rest is now up to you as to how you progress in this. Weightlifting and stretching are extremely important in athletics. I wish you the best of luck, and thank you very much. Good luck in the future.